are seated, I'd like to just have two memories, a silent prayer. One is we'll have a resolution from Mr. Beal a little bit about National Police Week and National Police Officers Memorial Day, which is on the 15th. So in remembrance of fallen officers and those that have also deceased, I'd like us to bow our head in prayer and just silent prayer for a minute or so. Okay, amen. And the second one is a fateful day in our town was on May the 15th, 1 year ago, again on the same day as National Police Officers Memorial Day. And that's when the macroburst, or as I claim, tornado, ripped through our town and really leveled a number of homes, did significant damage to property, and in fact there is still some property that hasn't recovered. I'll address it in a little bit as to maybe some other things the board can just look at, but in remembrance of that fateful day for a number of people, fortunately we had no loss of lives, but we had significant property damage both in town, county roads, as well as people's residence, particularly in Chelsea and Tall Trees. Let us bow our heads again for a few seconds of prayer. Thank you, and amen. Please be seated. So the first item on the agenda is our normal, looking over at the minutes and the agenda items. So the first item is I would like to have a motion to adopt the agenda. There will be that one additional item that I just mentioned about that Mr. Beal will be introducing a proclamation resolution.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That motion passes. The next motion is to acknowledge the minutes of April 22nd, 2019.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, no abstentions or negatives, then that motion passes as well. The next item is we're going to have a public hearing. This was as board had adopted back in April 8th of this year. This is going to be a hearing with respect to the matter of the increase and improvement of facilities that are of the United Wappinger Water District in the town of Wappinger. This is related, though, to the filtration system of the wells in order to have a replacement and rehabilitation of our water wells in the hilltop section of the town. So is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion passed. Do we have any comments? If you do have a comment that you'd like to make, please come up to the podium and identify yourselves as by name and also approximately where are you living in the town.
You guys just have a short synopsis of the work that's being done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So just brief summary, Hilltop, there's a total of 4 wells that we have there, water wells. These are not the principal wells, but our secondary wells, but nevertheless very important to our water supply within the town. There are 3 existing wells that are in need of rehabilitation or replacement, as I understand it, Bob, correct?
Two are being replaced,
right.
one is being rehabbed.
And this is a multiple step process with the first step being installation and testing of the wells, and the second one is the repair of the well number 1 that is there rather than the replacement of the well. So this is an upgrade to our system, but we view that it's extremely important to guarantee the security of a clean water supply for the town. And at the Meadowwood Water Treatment Facility, well, this is the facility that processes it as compared to the wells themselves, then we're looking at replacement of the filtration system. There's a cartridge replacement system that we need to, how long a life do they have, Bob, generally?
Well, what happened was there was a cartridge system there at Meadowwood, but the health department has changed what they'll accept, so we've had to replace that entire system.
Okay.
That's ongoing now.
Right. So these wells are constantly being monitored, and as a result of that, and Pollution's also monitoring, we've determined through our engineer and also Camo that we need to have these upgrades as well. And we're, looking at that particular, actually fairly significant expense when it comes to the overall improvements and then the overall capital cost of the project. I think, we'll be discussing the board with respect to how to fund that, whether or not it's from combination of bonds or maybe some grant money. Mr. Gray and I have been exploring possibility of some grant money in connection also with other things. Bob?
The filter system that we're putting in at Meadowwood is the identical system that we put in at Atlas and also at Hilltop. So the maintenance and replacing the parts should be as easy as we can make it because we have 3 systems with 3 identical filtration systems.
Okay, thank you. So that's brief summary of the project. Do we have any questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Sure.
Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, then the motion, passes. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Well, I thought we just,
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Thank you. So I meant, say a motion to open the public portion of the meeting, and this again is to have anyone that is interested in making a comment come up to the podium. This is comments with respect to any item on the agenda, tonight. And similar rule is please come up, identify yourselves by name, and also that you're a resident in the town.
I'll make a motion to open the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. So now, if you'd like to have any comments on any of the items, then, please come up. We will have some specific comments relating to some of the other reports from people that are interested or proposing those particular items in a few minutes.
Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next item, now that we have actually a much more watchable and much more recordable video conference system that we've installed, that the board approved not too long ago. As you can see, there are cameras in the back, and there's a camera up here that can focus on people as they're commenting. What I thought I'd do, and then from time to time also some of the, our councilmen and women, will be able to make some comments relating to it. The only thing that still has to be done with respect to the video conferences, we're going to have some television monitors that will enable us to have better presentation of materials as we go forward. So that's almost done. I think Mike Miner said that it should be in another week or so. The first item that I have to discuss is one that we had filed what they call a municipal innovation grant. This was filed a week or so ago. This is one of the number of grant opportunities that the county, provides for our communities. We filed actually a shared grant proposal with the village of Wappinger Falls and also the town of Poughkeepsie. This grant is related to actual improvements for tri-municipal sewer, facility. And I'll explain why this is important to seek a grant for that in just a second. But what we're trying to do with tri-municipal is that the town of Wappinger, with respect to its public sewer system, is a tenant of tri-municipal, or we call tri-muni. And that means that anyone that's connected to the town sewer systems, its waste will be disposed down into the facility off of Schaeff Road and then processed in the facility. We are not an actual member due to the wisdom or whatever of many years ago of our, town leaders, but we are the largest tenant. And actually, that's very important for this particular grant. This grant is $195,000 that we have applied for, And this is an expense that is going to have to be done regardless of whether or not the grant is made. So in applying for a $195,000 grant, the town's share of what would have been the cost, the $195,000 grant is the cost for adding the new diffusers into the plant that are necessary to process the waste sludge. Our share of that is actually a 49 point, I think, Bill, it's 49.55% of all costs that are incurred, by Tri-Muni relating to the process of the waste that comes out of there. So through the grant, hopefully we will be awarded it, and we believe we should be. That will actually save the town and our taxpayers approximately $97,000, which would otherwise we would have had to expend. So the board and I, and also our engineer, our water and sewer management company, so we have been looking at grants similar to this to try to reduce the cost of what are, inevitable expenses, unfortunately. So that's the grant that we applied for, and hopefully, we'll be awarded that. This is really part of an ongoing focus that we have for obtaining grants, to help fund our various, programs and initiatives in order to, I think, ease the taxpayers' burdens. So far with this board and the applications that we've submitted and are still submitting, we've gotten a $100,000 grant from Spook Hill, $2.48 million that's going to go toward Wood Hill Green, Wildwood sewer, and we are, in the process of applying for hopefully maybe upwards to another $6 million. And also we've just seen, thanks to efforts that a number of us had, where the state has decided to grant $5 million for improvement of a very difficult and dangerous intersection on New Hackensack, All Angels, and Route 376. Now that money will not come directly to the town. It's going to be part of the state. State DOT will be working on that. I've had meetings with Commissioner Balkine, and we've also received a letter with respect to that particular operation. And the letter, and I have a copy here for each of the board members, but the letter states that the anticipated project will begin in the fall of 2021 and a completion date of the fall of 2022. So this is one that will actually help ease the congestion of that particular area. And in connection with that, we'll be looking at, as we are with Old Hopewell and Myers Corners, actual enhancements also to sewer and water that are actually sorely needed out there.
I was going to say that I hope their anticipation is right on line with what they want to do versus Myers Corners, because they've been talking about doing that for a long time.
Right. Well, I think it was maybe 10 years or so, as I understood it, that it took in getting to that point.
It's close to it. I mean, the reason why it takes so long is because you're relying on federal funds to come through the state and be conduited through the state, and then the state funds to be conduited through the county.
Right.
And then it all depends on if that federal funding is still there down the road. So the fact that we're seeing some movement again is a good thing, because the traffic is certainly not decreasing.
No, that's right. And I think, related to that, we have been in constant contact communication at various levels. Myself, quite actively, Bill has been, also Highway Superintendent Bettina, with Commissioner Balkine and his folks with respect to those two roads. Taking Myers Corners, a lot of people forget that Myers Corners is not a town road, but it impacts our town significantly. So while we may not be able to get the highway superintendent's crews out there to fix potholes, we do have a very important line of communication, which is actually working to the commissioner, actually to also the county executive and to others, whereby which our concerns are being addressed. For example, we had raised some concerns with respect to the potholes, with respect to actually some of the sleeves that are cut through, also on the side. If you notice, they have been asphalting now, and they have been trying to make sure that the item 4 is in there, although, and then what they did, really much to our request, is now they put bump signs. A little bit annoying, because there's a bump sign every few hundred feet, but it is part of the ongoing assistance that I think, in a great spirit of cooperation that we have. I know Mr. Cosmith has been concerned because his house is right on the corner of that, but hopefully the traffic has improved. And the good news is that it has not really impacted in any significant way DeGarmo Plaza there and our town residents. So this is part of the program. Now, that's still gonna, I think the estimate was that it would take 15 months from March of this year to completion date. And then for the town, right after that, we have also Old Hopewell Road. And Old Hopewell will be starting after the completion, or around the same time, and that will take another 15 months or longer. On Old Hopewell, so people realize, is that they are now, that is the county, in the process of completing their design for the road. Also, they're in the a problem of getting a challenge for them of right-of-ways. So the road is going to be expanded so that it will make it easier for turns off the road, or onto the road for that matter. Also, some of the hills that cause poor visibility will be straightened out. And then we're going to see to what extent maybe some lights or what have you will go in there, although, you know, we're going to have the clear opportunity. I've talked with Mr. Gray, and the county engineers are working with him with respect to water and sewer and proper alignment. In fact, we have a resolution tonight to authorize him to do some studies so we can connect our system. You know, there are gaps along Old Hopewell where our water and sewer is not connected. So that's part of the study. But again, the county has been working, and they're wanting to look at it on Old Hopewell, creating a betterment district, I think is what they call it. And so that will be having more discussions at the board. But there is, you know, I think good progress being made, you know, with respect to that and trying to remove congestion. Yes, Mr. Highway Superintendent.
I'll let you know tomorrow, there's going to be an emergency testing of our radios with the county. Balcon's been a pleasure to work with, and Gary Cooper. I have a close working relation with them. They've done everything to make sure that people understand that those roads are county roads, not town roads. I was getting numerous phone calls and complaints, and they've since ceased a little bit. But tomorrow we'll be going a testing of the emergency operation system. So the highway superintendents in Balkine, we can be in touch in case another disaster like we had with the, you know, the microburst, and also when we had to go out and prowl the county and state roads in November and other stuff.
But I thank you, and agree. You know, that our residents do have legitimate concerns, and we want to try to address them. And I think all of us up here have been filled in, the highway superintendent, our lawyers, and so forth, a number of these issues. But I want to make sure that you do understand, still costs, because then I'll just get on the call, you know, phone with the highway superintendent, call Gary Cooper, I'll call Commissioner Balkine, or even the county executive directly, or some others. Sometimes we need to get our our county legislator involved. So please don't stop calling us, but please also don't take out some of the frustrations because we are trying to address it. Bill, you have some experience on that, so.
Just one other issue that's been out there for a while that we've expressed concern with is the number of pedestrians that are walking on Myers Corners Road especially.
Absolutely.
Especially between Ketchum High School and Route 9. Discussing with Commissioner Balkine how we can improve the shoulders, he has indicated that wherever he can increase the size of the shoulder, he's going to do so.
That's right.
He's doing that across the county on county roads. But remember, there are certain restrictions in some areas where property lines may approach. We went through this with the water situation on Wheeler Hill Road. But any area that they can make a 4-foot shoulder instead of a 2-foot shoulder, he said he's going to do that. And anyone that's been on Myers Corners Road certainly has seen students walking on Myers Corners Road, and there are no sidewalks. So he said he will be making that part of his objective, which is a good thing.
So we've been getting some very good input and feedback, and we, I think, all appreciate the cooperation. Is there more that can be done? Yes, and I think we are in the process of working on it. Each of the councilmen and women, are from their wards looking at the specific issues as they arise. Another issue that I think the residents want fixed as much as we do here, and that we includes also our, gentleman at the table, especially the highway superintendent, is the recycle center and issues relating to that. What we've been doing as board have been looking at costs and issues, and I wanted the town just to understand, and then, I can let the highway superintendent, I know Councilman Beal has some thoughts as well as do others, but we inherited a center that has hamstrung us when we look at our, budget and our costs. And in fact, if you look at each year, since 2014 is as far back as I went on the numbers, but it seems to be consistent, is that, the net expenditures over revenue that comes in from the recycle yard is based on just the permit, fees that we get that the town clerk issues a recycle yard permit. Those average about $93,000, $58 over a course of 5 years. The challenge is that each year, we're losing a significant amount of money with respect to the operation of, the recycle yard. In 2016, there was a loss of $102,000, $103,000 the next year, and now as recycle costs and particularly haulage costs have risen significantly, 2018, the cost to the town, now that's a loss on that line, was $140,000. So the board, we have been looking at, what to do and how to remedy that, and looking at also some other immediate issues. One of the things that I've actually been monitoring myself, I've gone up a couple times, the highway superintendent has been doing, is we've had a tremendous amount of abuse with respect to the recycle yard usage. And so what we're doing is putting in the program, but need to discuss with the board later on to approve perhaps some more stringent controls. But we're finding a number of apartment owners, developers coming in with trailer loads of material to dump at our site. And that costs us a lot of money, to take it to, for Royal Carting to go and take it. So what we've done is to initiate a program where we have the gate, of course, constantly monitored. Actually, John George, I think, has been doing it a lot recently. And I just have a list, and I could share it with you, but I think we had an email where just over the last last week, we've had about a dozen flagged residences where they've been trying to get away with dumping a lot of stuff that they're not authorized to. So
Saturday was another incident where, and you have to understand, John George doesn't know it's in a revolving system. Prior administration cut back the staff up there as well. It needs to be noted. We used to have 6 people on Wednesdays. We're cut down to 5, which are 3 are highway. The 2 are supposed to be employees hired, and I gave you that email. The most important thing is, the clerk gives them a sticker. A lot of people do not want to put the sticker on the car. I was told when I looked at the permit here, this brochure, nowhere does it say it has to be put on the car. So now we get into a debate. I don't want it on my car. I'll hold it up and show it to you. No. You have to put it on the car. And the fact that I recommend people put it inside the door jamb so it doesn't hurt the paint or the bumper. It's inside there like the old days used to check your oil. Saturday was another incident where people came in with a trailer, and he basically told the other John was there on duty that day because there's always revolving. And he told him basically to have a nice day in a play word, the CIA, and told me on the phone to have a nice day in the verbiage. And that he was coming in, didn't have his permit, says he has a permit, he wasn't going back to get the permit, and drove right through the gates. Now, you have to understand something. These people are volunteers, they get paid. But it's not mandatory anybody has to be at that site, according to the agreements that are there. And no one is being paid to be abused. People come through, they get angry, I don't have my permit, I'm coming through, and oh, by the way, they're overloading this and taking an abuse. I mean, to have trailers with double axles on, it's questionable. There was a time when this recycle center was free. So when we take a look at the revenues coming in versus what it cost us, and I did speak with Royal, their costs are going up. And the fact of the matter is, A, they've got to put it on. B, tomorrow, I'm gonna talk to the sheriff's department to tell this gentleman that if he's gonna abuse this, I'm gonna pull the permit. Now, I don't know if I have the authority to pull it, or the clerk, or the board, but the fact is, people that abuse this and go in 4 or 5 times and they don't have their permit and they're abusive, there's no call for that. I mean, there's many people do, do it the right way, but then you've got that select few. You've seen it yourself. And what authority do we have to say, and by the way,
That's where I was heading, Mr. Bettina, is that I think the board, we need to look at, how do we tighten up some of these, rules where appropriate, that's, I think, the key point that I'm making, when it comes to, correctly, I provided for the board, the summary of it. I think one of the things that Mr. Paoloni was looking at is that, we would get a sticker similar to the state inspection sticker that would then be stuck inside, on that. But all these things are for us to consider, and I think at a subsequent meeting, I just wanted to highlight the issues so we can be talking about some means to improve it. But there are other issues, whether or not it's security, getting a camera up there, or even the staffing issues. But I don't want to belabor that right
I just
now.
want to be able to, people abuse it need to lose their right to use it. That's very critical.
Right,
We have a permit process.
correct.
Yeah, Bill.
So if somebody doesn't have a permit, how are they getting into the gate?
Okay, Bill. Question. I'm going in anyway. I have a, wait.
Call
I'm-
the sheriff.
Yeah,
That's
call the
right,
sheriff.
and
By the
that's-
time the sheriff gets there, he's gone. So I've got some plate numbers
Yeah.
that we wrote down. I
It's
got
too
some-
late. It's too late at that point. It has to be witnessed by the deputy. It has to be witnessed. It can't be, unless you want to start filing depositions and going to court.
Wait,
We
the
can't let
sheriff-
people in.
oh,
We've had this conversation 100 times here.
You know what?
from
You're
this
right.
dais.
Since you put more time on for sheriff, maybe sheriff's car should sit there on Saturday.
But
Because they get out quick enough before they do it.
And we're gonna pay
listen,
for it.
if you don't have a permit, you don't gain entry. I don't
Going
understand
anyway.
why that's
That's what I'm
happening.
saying. They jump the gate, they drive right through.
That
Jim,
doesn't make sense to me. Why do we have someone at the gate then?
They drive by
Hold
Bible,
it.
is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I was there, Bill.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
they-
just
Bill,
drive
I'm gonna
by.
tell you, I have an email from my highway employee. He goes, I stopped the guy goes by.
I understand what you're saying, call the
Okay,
cop.
okay, let's
But
discuss
what
this more. I just
happens
wanted to give a
call the cop and the
report,
guy's
but
already gone?
so we have some solutions, but one of them is to call out the
Well,
sheriff's
They
deputy
should
to
lose,
have them up there
they
a
gotta
couple times.
lose their
But-
permit for doing that.
Okay, let's, discuss this, more, but I have some, certainly ideas, and, highway superintendent does, but I agree with you, Bill. When I was up there, one of them tried to blow by, well, we walked over and told him, if you don't get out of here, we're calling the sheriff's deputies, and he did pull out, so.
But it's also a safety thing. If somebody just pulls in there, disregards the people that work there, are abusive, and then we have people walking around all over the place.
Right.
That's a
So-
problem.
So anyway, it's just, we're going to have to.
If we
work
have a
on some-
permit process and we require a permit
Sorry.
for entry to the recycle center, okay, and we cannot effectively stop people from entering the recycle center when they don't have a permit, what's the point of having a person at the gate? That, to me, doesn't make any sense.
I absolutely agree with you all. What enforcement do you have to stop them?
You shut the gate. Can't come through.
They go
Sorry.
up the
They go
hill
up the
where they
hill.
check it, Bill. The gate, they're already standing in line. They're in line
I thought that
coming
we
in.
checked it at the entrance to the gate.
Yeah, we do.
Then I hear about the traffic being backed up in the street.
The bottom line is,
Drive that.
we've had conversations about the recycle center for probably collectively over 50 hours in the time that I've been here. Okay, we have a much more, right, that's a conservative number. We have a much more regimented process now than we ever did when this was a free service. I understand there has to be accountability. I understand that we need to watch the expense line because refuse costs significantly more now to get rid of. I get that. But this is a service that we provide to the residents of the town that we previously provided for free, okay? It clearly states here in the rules, you can't bring construction debris. That's it. So if someone shows up with construction debris, which is in the email that I saw last week, we have multiple people showing up with construction debris. My question is, why are we letting them in?
Well, they are being
Again.
turned away, except occasionally one will still drive by, so out of the safety for, John George or whoever's watching it, then they have to go and
There's
tell them to leave.
There's different people, and the people
Yeah.
and the MOA, I think you might want to discuss that in executive session, how that's set up and how that's being done. I discussed that with the attorney.
But I agree with you, Bill. There is that
I agree with
issue,
Bill.
and maybe like we've done in some
There's a
stop
problem,
signs and
yeah.
so
You
forth,
gotta get
is I
fixed.
asked Jonathan to get somebody up there.
If we can't effectively stop somebody at a gate that is going to be intentionally abusing this, then clearly the mechanism doesn't work at all.
Correct.
We need someone that is able to shut the gate. Sorry, can't come in. That's it. And if you don't leave, we're calling the cops. That's the bottom line here. I mean, this is something that's costing us a lot of money to operate. I have a lot of constituents in my ward that utilize this service, that pay the fee. It's a nominal annual permit fee. We've established this in a way that it's going to offset the expense. It was never designed to be, cover the expense of getting rid of all of this. The idea of having a recycle center was so that people weren't dumping on the side of the road. That was the whole idea, to bring their bulk items here to get rid of them. We previously had a bulk pickup, which obviously became very, very expensive, something that we really can't afford to do within this budget cycle. And people had the option to bring those items here to dispose of those things. So if someone's bringing construction debris or bringing debris from a commercial job site, clearly that's a violation right here on the rules.
And they are being stopped, Bill, from my observation, but once in a while, one blows through. Like I said, there have been 12, that we are monitoring, that are flagged, for doing just that, bringing in construction, and they take down their permit, the license number and so forth, what they've been doing.
Want the power
So
to
part
be
of
able
it
to
is
revoke-
maybe they don't reissue the permit anymore.
Exactly right. We want the power to revoke those permits, and when people realize that, A, they've got to follow the law or lose the permit, and then it would be trespassing coming up there, that's what's got to be done. I got
so,
people on the gate that say to me, we're not going to be abused.
We're not going to settle this tonight, but I wanted again,
wanna let you know about
let the board know that, there is the issue that's gotten somewhat worse and that we'll address it, particularly as the cost have, skyrocketed. As you know, I've
Thank
sent you, copies. So let's move on. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the meeting, when we had a short prayer of silence, today is the 13th of May. On the 15th, we had the very serious storm that hit the town, and many areas were damaged, but the two worst ones were in Tall Trees, and the whole area from Tall Trees going down to Chelsea and up Chelsea Road, especially Thorn Acres. I've had a number of residents that have come in that are still in the process of actually repairing the homes, one in Thorn Acres, the other in actually Tall Trees, and also down in Chelsea, where some of the homes are not repairable, or also there's been some scams, for one residence, where their insurance money has been taken away. So one of the things that not only do we want to recognize that there's ongoing actually suffering, and in connection with that, I'd like to perhaps suggest to the board to consider that perhaps as we did back on May 15th, for some of those that are still struggling to get their homes repaired, that we can still consider perhaps giving another opportunity to waive the permit fees. I know it's a small thing in the building department. I talked with Barbara. I think, that's certainly something that we can manage, and I think would be appreciated in doing that. The other thing, highway superintendent, and I know, with the resources, but I still have gotten a number of residents that have said, look, is there any way that if we put some of the tree and brush that's still out there in their yards and put it on, the street side, if we would be able to designate perhaps a day to go by and pick it up in several areas? And again, I just raise that for the board's consideration. but-
Contributed to the storm, Dick, and emergency, absolutely. But we're not cleaning people's backyards.
we understand.
And
I
it's
think-
against the law, so.
No, we
But
made it clear, and
absolutely.
I haven't had anybody ask, to go in and clean the backyard, but if they put out some, and it's,
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Bettina can tell, it's your ward, that there are a lot of,
But it would only be for Ward 1 and Ward 2 that we would be asking for
Where
this.
Absolutely, where the accident was and the storm, absolutely.
To help
If we
these
still have
people
debris there
still
from
out.
that, and you move it there, I'll defer to council, I'd be more than happy to take care of it.
Bill, do you have any thoughts?
I'm not sure now, a year later, it would be something that's permissible.
We took care of the stuff during the storm, there's nothing else after.
I mean,
we made sure we
there's
did.
still, people are still
Still-
struggling
there's
to get it done,
still- yeah,
and all
unfortunately,
the areas that I looked
Stanger
at,
Court, there's
so.
still trees down on
In the
Caroline
backyards, yep.
Drive. In the back, I mean, we have residents here.
I'm not sure it's legal to do it now, a year later.
Jim,
I'm not
is
sure.
it? Can you let us know?
It would probably now be an A-fund expense. It wouldn't come out of the highway fund.
If it's an A-fund expense, it needs to benefit the whole town, so we'd have to be doing everybody in the
You
whole
have to
town.
be careful, yeah.
Okay.
That's the only concern I would
No
have.
problem doing it, take care of it, if you're gonna fund it, take care of it, no problem.
mean, if you want to do
Look at the issue.
I mean, there are options. If you want to entertain doing a brush pickup for the town, we can run the numbers and see what it looks like. If you want to entertain doing something that is going to benefit, every resident.
Right.
I do understand that there are some people that still have, challenges from that storm, but I'm just not so sure that it would be considered a, exigent circumstance now, a year later, to be able
All
to
I
do
know
that.
is you go down Chelsea Road, the county road, there's some monster trees
Yeah, but-
laying there, but the county's not going in and touching them, so.
Okay, well then,
I
Mr.
understand
Hand, would
what you're
you
saying too,
look
though.
into the
So-
legal, and how we
Yeah, it-
address that issue if we
To address it
can?
for the whole town.
Yeah, I understand.
we-
you know.
Well, you said that's a county road. That's another
Yeah,
reason why
that-
we should be
that-
touching.
The point I'm saying is, just in regards to the storm, there's
damage.
large trees on the county side of the road. All I'm saying is, I didn't say anything about the town road. I'm just saying, as you go in that area, you can see still the remnants from the storm.
Well, and I'm not saying I'm not sympathetic to these concerns. I just would concur with Councilman Beal's assessment that after it's been over a year, it's kind of difficult then now to ascertain what actually occurred during a microburst and what might have happened later on. So I'm not sure we
I'm
can
there
even
to
make
do it.
that
If I can
assessment
help,
at
I
this
can help.
point.
And we have in the past done just what we did last year. For a period of time following an event,
Understood.
we have been able to,
Provide.
provide that service in those affected areas. I just don't think that it would apply now, and I'm certainly hoping that we don't see anything like that again, that would warrant us to do that.
I think, what it is, and I appreciate it, and I think it's Mr. Haran's, but we have had a number of concerns raised, and particularly with houses that are still also in the
Damaged.
process, damaged or couldn't be repaired, where it's clear that it was a storm, because we have pictures, we have the reports from the inspectors that went out, so we know exactly, where they are. Barbara and Sue have a master list for that part of it, aside from the brush, part of it.
And we have two residents here that still have damage in their yards that are on Caroline Drive, and they question, how are we going to still clean this up? What do we need to do? How can we?
So let's then look at it, Mr. Haran, if you would.
If you could let
take
us
a
know,
look,
would
let us
be-
know, and then
Okay.
we can discuss it further. Thank you.
There are also nonprofit organizations such as Rebuilding Together that, and Habitat for Humanity that offer assistance to those that are unable to perform those duties on private property. It gets a little hairy on private property, obviously, for
Right.
public entities to be doing work on private property.
No. Well, what I'm
Great,
proposing is
yeah.
not for that, no work on private property by.
But the
by-
nonprofits can.
Yeah.
I mean, we can
Yeah.
help as a town, we can help
Sure.
facilitate those in need.
Okay.
Put them in contact with those groups to,
Right.
be part of that
And
process.
we can also have our volunteers be part of any of those organizations
Sure.
to reach out to people. So that is another avenue that we
Yeah.
can also,
I mean,
look. But
and-
if you could let us know, Jim.
And that's helpful. I mean, there is a constitutional prohibition about using funds on private property.
Right.
So, if people have difficulty, getting the trees or whatever to the roadside, you have to get some sort of not-for-profit agency.
Yeah.
The town can't go in
Well,
and
They,
assist
they,
people
they
in
haven't
doing that.
requested, at least to me,
Right.
that particular aspect. They understand that, I think, from before. So anyway, okay, we'll look into it,
Okay,
further.
And we had a
try to-
precedent on that as well. A couple of years back on Maloney Road, we had
Right.
some significant damage that occurred, and we made it very clear that it would only be what happened in the public or the easement or the right-of-ways, not in the public, in the private areas. And I think the highway superintendent had said that as well.
Right.
According to the statute, I mean, we're supposed to do things within easement on the roads itself, not all private property, that's correct. But when that microburst came through and there are trees on the road, on the houses, on the side of the road, we went in and took care of every bit of that. And that's what we're supposed to do.
But it's not uncommon for folks to come to their local government and ask for that type of assistance. And I
Right.
think our role can be to help put them in touch with a non-governmental organization.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, I think, we want to try to help where we can, but
The
certainly.
residents.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yeah, you want to just identify yourself, where you live?
Kathleen Manzio, live in
Can-
Caroline Drive.
can-
There's one, what's the stipulation for how far the town is responsible for cutting down the trees that it is? Only because I have one great big root that fell up on the corner of my lot, and I don't know whether it's my responsibility or the town's responsibility to get rid of that one big chunk, so I don't know how far in. And then, at one point, Basin came in and he chopped down trees and left like just great big trunks on one I'm really not quite sure that one piece in the corner there where, between my house and the pool's house, I don't know if you,
I'm quite familiar, I was born, I know that area pretty well.
right, so that one big tree there, I don't know whose responsibility it is.
Typically, center line of the road, 25 feet out is the area of the town.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
The center of the road, and we measure 25 feet, is pretty much the limit to where the highway goes for repair, so,
Okay.
you know, but, you know, we'll be able to, I'll go down and take a look at that and see if
Okay.
that's
That would
something
be
we can
great,
do.
'cause
No
I
problem.
know it's, you know, I know, so you're saying 25 feet from the
Center, the center of the road, 25 feet.
Yeah, see, I don't think it is, because that road is.
See, and-
Well, anyway, you know, the
and
superintendent
other-
could go out and
The
look.
other thing is,
Take
if
a
there's
look.
trees there, and they're hanging over the road,
It's
No,
just
this
a
is
trunk
down.
line. That's what
Right.
I'm saying, it's just a trunk.
it's gotta be within the 25 feet area, that's what it's gotta be.
But if you could go and look, it
I'd
would
be more than
be,
happy to.
And then you were saying something about you have volunteers that could come in and help to get some of the trees down, is that what you said?
we can look into that as that, you know, maybe a possibility, have them also volunteer agencies that can go on private property and help out. I mean, that is something that we can look into and hopefully help the residents out that we can.
Because between my house and the house next door, it's just,
I remember,
I mean, I have big pine trees and, you know,
I do.
so I would appreciate something like that. Thank you very much.
We'll get back with you.
Okay, thank you. Since we're, running more short on time, I'll keep the rest of the comments to myself for right now, and we'll talk some more about them so that we can move on to the rest of the agenda. And the first item would be with respect to what we call the discussion topics. That's relating to, several different items. One of those, the first one, is a continuation of an earlier discussion that we had. This is concerning the Downey Oil proposal, or is an update. This is with respect to what we had discussed about a possible zoning change. And with respect to that, Mr. Stallman has looked into it, further. Would you like to just summarize for that? Then the Downey people are here, including also Al Capelli, who's here. But maybe, David, if you would first discuss with the board, because we had some questions about that.
Sure. Well, Downey Energy has a certain property in mind on Old Route 9. Al and I met out at the site, Al Capelli and I met out at the site, and after looking at this whole thing, I think it would be reasonable and appropriate for the town board to entertain allowing this liquid propane storage facility in the HB zoning district as a special permit use, and in the AI zoning district as a special permit use, subject to certain prescribed restrictions and conditions. And also in the HB district, there would be locational criteria as well. So if you agree that this would not be an incompatible use in that zone, of those zones, this matter rather could move forward to the planning board for their advisory opinion, as you would do with any other sort of, any other zoning proposal, petition.
Okay. I had asked Downey to show up tonight, so, and they brought, their safety expert also, actually a very well credentialed and recognized expert in her own right. So, I'll maybe just a few minutes. We don't want to spend a lot of time, and give the opportunity to our councilmen and women to ask some questions.
Sure. Al Capelli, we were here a couple of weeks ago discussing the matter. As David mentioned, we met out there. We have with us this evening the owner of Downey Energy, Carrie Downey, in case anyone has any particular questions regarding his business, his family-run business, over 100 years, serving Westchester, Dutchess, and Putnam counties. And we also have Jody Amadin, who's a leading expert in the Northeast on liquid propane facilities such as this, as Mr. Thurston had suggested. So if you have any questions in particular to either one of those, I would have them answer those for you.
Thank you.
Any specific questions? Jody, since you came a little distance, why don't you just come up for, a couple minutes and just introduce yourself and your expertise and how you're involved in this project?
Good evening. My name is Jody Amadin, and I traveled here today from Fairleigh, Vermont. I have 30 years of propane experience. I'm a mechanical engineer and a safety consultant to the propane industry. I work primarily with companies like Downey, doing their safety studies and doing their design of their facilities. I also work with local fire departments to train them and to help facilitate any questions they might have. What I would be providing in this process, should the project go forward, is I'll be working with your fire department to do what they call a fire safety analysis. I would also write the operation and maintenance plan. I would do the security plan and the emergency plan for the facility.
Have you inspected the facility as of yet?
I have gone on site.
Okay, and based upon your expert opinion, what's your assessment as far as the safety concerns?
I didn't have any concerns. Looking at the property, there's good access, there's good visibility. It's pretty similar to what's already on the street. There was nothing that concerned me.
The site is entirely wooded now. You know the area. There are sort of general business type uses up there. I think this use would be compatible with the existing vicinity, the uses in the existing vicinity. And this use would not be visible from Route 9.
Right? Put that in his report. yeah.
And it also has no access from
Right.
Route 9 either.
Right, it has frontage on Route 9, but it
Frontage,
goes up
right.
steeply, and you wouldn't see the facility.
Can't see it.
Okay.
Do we know what elevation these tanks are proposed to be at?
The height from the ground to the very top would
No,
be,
the actual topographical elevation that these are going to be on, do we know?
I'm going to let Alan
As
answer
compared
that
to the
one.
residential dwellings in that vicinity,
Really aren't. Well, it's.
on the opposite side of Old Route 9? My point is, propane obviously is heavier than air, so my concern would be if we are putting these tanks at a higher elevation and there is a release, we have residential dwellings opposite that property. So I'm still not sold on this fitting into the HB at this moment. If you have any information on that and you can expand on it, I would appreciate it.
Well, we have a topographical survey that we just recently obtained. So we have an elevation at the street level of about 170. The property goes up to an elevation of about 200 before it drops back down to Route 9. We're not looking to put the tanks on top of the hill. You have to understand that we're talking about tankers that literally have to pull in and fuel the tanks and then leave, one way in and one way out. So without saying it's going to be pretty close to ground level that you see there, there may be a slight elevation when the dust settles and the final grading plan is done, but it's going to be, relatively speaking, at Old Route 9 level, because we're limited as to, again, to facilitate the access for the vehicles, we can be going up a large hill, if that answers
In my memo,
perhaps.
Bill, I specifically said reasonable, appropriate to entertain this, not to approve it. It would go to the planning board for the seeker process.
Right.
The state environmental quality review process, both for the zoning text amendment and for this project itself. So we'd have to go through all of these issues and analyses before it would come back to this board to consider approving it. So I just used the word entertain in my memo.
Okay.
So basically what you're saying is not only is this not up for approval right now, that it's going to go through these steps where it'll be analyzed to
Right.
make sure that these safety concerns are addressed. That
Absolutely.
Councilman Beal mentioned, or any others that might come up during the process, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And I think the main
It's gonna
purpose
follow the
today is
same
see if
steps
there
as
was
everything else.
very strong opposition,
Sure.
then
Right.
they don't need to, spend more time.
And
But
there
I-
will be public hearings with residents coming and addressing any concerns that they have during that process,
Yes,
correct?
there would be. And
Okay.
in my memo, I mentioned filing a formal application for a zoning text amendment, including a full environmental assessment form to start, which analyzes the zoning text amendment and the specific project, establishing an escrow account, referring the application to the planning board for processing under seeker. So it's a process. And I did not sign off on this. I used the word entertain.
Right.
Well, it makes sense to entertain it, certainly.
Yes.
Where we go at the ultimate conclusion, I guess, is another story, but
Right.
yes.
I thought your memo was very thorough and very fair, and we'll see where it takes us.
Thank you.
But we're looking for a text amendment to allow this type of use within this zoning, correct?
That's what's being proposed.
Right.
Yes.
So that's-
Special
that's-
permit use.
But not for now.
Well, we have to be careful entertaining a text amendment such as that without understanding the full aspect of the HB zone. I mean, this could open up, a number of
That would
these
be
types.
That would be analyzed, where the HB zones are, what the specific locational criteria that we're going to use would be, what the restrictions would be, what the conditions would be. So this would all have to get analyzed, both the zoning text amendment and its implications, how it should be crafted, and this project itself.
So is there a resolution tonight?
No.
No.
No, this is just
No,
informational.
This is just to let it go forward to the planning board.
But we do have to make a decision, or do we not?
No.
No.
Well,
I understand.
The only decision you're making really is whether you're going to, this is a legislative action.
Yes, it is.
You have ultimate authority. So you're deciding whether to let this go forward to the planning board, or whether you're going to turn the applicant away.
Well, there should be a resolution for that. It shouldn't just be off the
And
floor.
Mr. Han, should there? The original idea was,
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think there probably should be a resolution regarding that. I think there's also a discussion regarding setting an escrow, so that would have to be set by resolution as well, whether you do a motion of the board. And I just, if the applicant, Councilman Beal makes a point regarding propane and heavier than air. I would assume that that's something that's typically treated in the emergency plans, and that's something that's addressed. So regardless of where it is, whatever zone it
Oh,
will be in.
trust me, I live in emergency plans in my day job, so.
Sure. So, I mean, it's something,
That's why I'm cautious to move off the floor something here without fully understanding what we're
Right.
doing. So,
I don't think it was set up for a resolution yet.
okay, so then I'll wait for the resolution.
I had not set it up
It's
for
not
a resolution tonight.
Yeah, it was just for discussion.
We can have a
to-
resolution for the next town board
Yeah.
meeting.
Right.
If you'd like to
Yeah.
entertain it.
No, I'll certainly entertain a resolution. I just want to make sure I have all the stipulations of that resolution in front of me before voting on it.
You will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And certainly, just to make it very clear, entertaining does not mean that we are actually approving the text amendment or approving the project at
Right.
this point.
Right.
Okay.
But the resolution, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be moving, an action moving forward for a text amendment within an HB zone, correct?
That's what it would be.
Yes, so.
Yeah, and the planning board would then go through the analysis, and it'd be,
As any other,
But ultimately, the text amendment is something that would be approved by this entity.
Correct.
Correct.
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
And that's the plan,
The planning board might recommend for it, and you might deny
recommending
it.
it.
Okay.
I mean, the other issue too is this use is not currently permitted in the town anywhere.
Right.
So one of the other things that David had mentioned in his memo, that it would be considered also in the AI district.
Well, that was what we discussed last time, text amendment versus zone change, and I understand your memo relative to text amendment, I get that. I'm not going to belabor the point anymore. I will look forward to seeing the resolution, and then if I have any further questions, I'll reach out to the appropriate professional. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay. So we'll move on to our resolutions for the evening. The first resolution is Resolution 2019-95. This is a resolution authorizing the repairs to the field surface at Inspiration Field. This is, one that we had discussed previously, and at that point in time, we had asked the engineer and also Mr. Frazier to go back out and to confirm the cost that was identified, and I believe you have done that.
Yes. I have here our proposal from Copeland, who is the contractor who did the original surfacing at the field.
I think that's the same that we have, oh no, that was 15, yeah, the 17, no, you still have 15 on it.
Right, but
Yeah.
there's a,
2,500 was the addition.
right.
Add 2,500 base price, that's in item number 6.
This proposal is to repair the cracks that are in the outfield near the curb, not to remove the curb, but to basically cut out around the cracks, fill it with the same material that the field is, the surface is made out of. there would be a general cleanup, and there's 3 thresholds that are somewhat of a tripping hazard. So to remove those, make those thresholds flush with the field, so there wouldn't be a tripping hazard there. They're probably anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch out of, a little higher than the adjacent surface. The cost of all that is $15,000. There is an additional cost of $2,500 to the base price. This is striping to be added to repaint all existing field markings, including the stencil with polyurethane lined marking paint. So that's a total you're looking at here of $17,500.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move it 17.5, not 15,000.
17.5 is in the resolution. Item number 6 in that estimate, Mike,
you see the
deals with the
$2,500.
2,500, so it's 15 plus add additional to the base.
I'll move it.
Second.
Did we ever get a price to finish the field?
Price of what?
To finish the field? The field kind of stopped,
All the way into the outfield?
kind of stopped 3/4 of the way, and that was what we had, the original discussion
We did not.
2 months ago.
It'd be substantially more.
We can ask them to go ahead and do that.
I think we should, I mean, it was a job that was 3/4 of the way done, and if we don't even look at it and look at what options are out there, monies that are available, it'd be kind of a waste of, I'm not saying this is a waste of time, but it's a lot of money to finish something that was done kind of not properly to start with.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is that the field has been functioning for
Correct.
quite a while in this same configuration.
Maybe ask Bettina if you have a comment or,
Yes, our field has been functioning. However, the original idea for the surface being in our town was that it would be for county use, and we would be able to have veterans play on it. I know when Mr. Bettino was on the board, that was something he spoke to pretty often. And that's something that I always wanted to, but we've had adults play on that field, and it's not okay for them. If an adult is in a wheelchair playing on that surface, they're stuck to the edge of the surface. They can't go get a ball in the grass, and that's not fair.
so, I guess we can entertain a motion to table it again and then have further, discussion. Also, I know we had discussion, Bettina, the last time with respect to looking for grant monies. You were looking into that, I know. Did you find anything that would help with that outfield area?
I have not gotten specific grants, but I have been in contact with Tony from Think Differently through the county. She put me in contact with the right people, so it's just a matter of getting the questions answered and
Okay,
figuring out what's there for us.
so I would think that we,
should table.
Bill, you look question, so
Yeah, so I thought that this resolution was gonna be to repair the,
it was just for the seam area.
seam.
Yeah.
So are we not going to do that repair?
What's your thoughts, as to, would you like us to go ahead and get that done? Because I know you had expressed real concern about that portion of the playing field.
Based on what I'm hearing, this quote would be again for filling in the crack in the
Correct.
field.
Correct, and also repairing the thresholds where there's a tripping.
So where the fences are, dugouts are.
Yeah, we've been onto the field, and there's 3 places where if you look, there's a misalignment.
Okay, I'm aware of 2 of them at each dugout. I don't know what the third
We
one
found a
would be.
third one.
Well, that's the experts. Those I would love to have fixed, and if we're able to get a quote to fix the actual seams at the color gaps, that would be amazing. But
Well, I think I could probably have a price for you at the next meeting to take this all the way into the outfield. If waiting 2 weeks, is that although
it's
we
not.
won't have any grant
no, I understand.
information at that point.
I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, there's somewhat of a misnomer here that the field wasn't finished. My understanding was this field was built out with the grant funding that was available, and that's how this was spec'd out, and that's how it was built with Community Development Block Grant funding, I believe it was. And that's why it's built to this, the way it is. It wasn't that the town just said, we're not gonna finish doing the field. My understanding was, being here for almost this whole time that this was done, was as the grant funding became available, that's when the work was gonna be done on the field. Am I wrong, or?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so the field was built out based on receipts of grant money. That being said, I don't have an objection to doing this maintenance to the cracks, because this field's been in use for a number of years. But, you know, I would be curious to know what the total cost to complete the field is, but I mean, that to me sounds like a major capital project.
It likely is, and I think that if we were to go ahead and repair the cracks, to extend the field, we're gonna have to remove that curve and extend the surface out. So I think we probably wouldn't have to fix the crack. We would basically cut the surface where the crack is and then extend it. So I think I'd rather see us hold off on the crack repair, if you understand.
I absolutely.
Just until we make a decision on whether or not to spend a much more substantial amount of
Sure.
money to go out. It's just, I think I could get you that price by the next meeting. I just don't know if you'll have in your hands,
Grant
grant.
Understood.
Well, what's the ballpark here? I mean,
Bill, I don't like to guess, but I would expect to be, I would say it's gotta be $100,000.
okay, so, you know, that's something that we need to,
But again, I'm
we need
just.
to plan for. We can't
Right.
just,
Yeah,
you
just
know,
throw it out here. and-
Absolutely.
out there. So my concern right now is, are we correcting the tripping hazards and, you know, the immediate hazards that exist right now? Are we correcting those outside of this $17,500 expense? Because if we're not, I don't want to table this and not fix the immediate tripping hazards.
Well, I guess the better question is, what can we fix now that wouldn't have an impact if we were gonna do the whole field?
Well, I think we ought to, fix the, thresholds.
Okay.
and
Can we
leave it
do
at
that?
I don't think it's necessary to stripe it. I don't think it's necessary to do the cracks, until we know what we're doing with the rest of the field. So I know I didn't break down the prices for you, but, I wouldn't expect the thresholds to even be a third of this number. So if you want
To do that repair.
If you want to authorize, let's say, up to $5,000 to do the thresholds, I don't think we'll spend that much.
I'll make that motion to authorize up to
just a move along.
$5,000 to fix the thresholds.
I
I'll
would
second
second
it.
that, yeah.
I would just say, point of order, I think the original motion would need to be rescinded.
Rescinded, right.
I will withdraw my original motion. I will make a new motion to authorize up to $5,000 to fix the threshold as indicated by the engineer to the town,
Second.
Okay.
And that's not to exceed 5,000.
not to exceed 5,000.
May I ask one question? Just because we are in the middle of the season, and I know it's been raining pretty much every day, if it's possible to either have construction be Monday through Friday and then be over, so that we're able to play Saturday and Sunday, or if it's going to take longer than those 5 days, have it be in the end of the season.
Well, I can have to contact the coordinator.
I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, sure.
That's
Okay, so we have a motion and second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Then the motion passes. Thank you.
So we're simply editing the existing resolution?
Yes.
Or are we scrapping the resolution?
We're tabling that resolution to the next meeting for further discussion. But in the interim, we authorize up to $5,000 for the town engineer to do the resurf, yeah.
Resolution, was it tabled?
We're tabling that, yeah.
Yes, the original resolution is tabled. Yes, he withdrew his.
Motion to table that.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions, motion passes.
Back at
And
the
this
next
is
meeting.
to fix the thresholds, Bob? Okay, okay, thank you. The next resolution is Resolution 2019-106. This is a resolution approving machinery and equipment rental rates with operators for use by the Highway Department pursuant to Highway Law 143. This is related to the paving proposal. Move.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next item is Resolution 2019-107. This is a resolution introducing, it appears to be local law number 5. I saw that in the documents, it's not filled in here, of 2019 for the purpose of amending the zoning map in Chapter 240, zoning of the Wappinger Town Code in connection with the rezoning petition known as Red Cedar Arborists and Landscapers, Inc., / Mark, Swenson.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Oops.
We just need to set the public hearing.
Oh,
Is that on the resolution?
that's right. Yeah, schedule a public hearing for June the 10th. Yes, it is. That's correct.
It's on the
It's in there.
resolution?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, not in mine, sorry.
It's not, okay,
He put it in, Joe put it in.
thank you.
Yeah, this would be a zoning change from HD to GB, correct, David?
Yes.
Okay. And, no, very good. So that would be the schedule for June the 10th,
Right.
okay? So why don't we have a new motion for that?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a resolution 2019-108. This is a resolution accepting the MS4 report, and this is one that actually Walter Artist had discussed before. Walter's here. Why don't you give a brief, summary to refresh the board's memory? And I put a copy of the printed report on the dais before the meeting.
Yes, I requested to be on this evening's agenda to inform the town board that the Town of Wappinger Stormwater Management Program Annual Report for the reporting period March 10th, 2018 through March 9th, 2019 is complete, and also request the town board authorize Supervisor Thurston to sign the annual report as well. This year's annual report is fairly consistent with last year's report. We're still operating under the 2015 permit. A couple of weeks ago, I did bring up the fact that we do have a new permit pending at some point in the future. At that point, we'll know what enhanced requirements we'll be facing.
Any questions for Mr. Artis? I want to thank you again for all your hard work that went into the report and, making sure that we are in compliance, with state laws.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next resolution is 2019-109. This is a resolution authorizing refund of escrow concerning Clove Creek Diner Theater rezoning request. This is an old one that I believe they went to Fishkill.
Yeah.
It's a $1,500 refund.
Yes, that was very unfortunate. We almost had them in Wappingers, and we didn't. So I do regretfully will move this motion with the hope that they would have come here. But since they're in Fishkill, we wish them the best of luck, of course.
Correct.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next resolution is 2019-110, resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute the contract with Dutchess County Sheriff's Office for additional police services. I had overlooked this before, that we didn't have a resolution. The contract is one that starts effective of January 1st this year. The Sheriff's Department has been, very, cooperative. This is, again, according to the budget that we passed, last year. No changes to that. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next resolution is 2019-111. This is the resolution authorizing the printing of the Town of Wappinger Guide. This is the guide that you recall, we had printed. When we did this as a trial run, this was actually priced at around $6 each. I've worked with the county. Actually, Sandra has been very efficient. We've gotten a color version down, working with the county. I think they have copies from last time. But anyway, at $1.16 each. And I'm seeking the authorization, as we state in here, to allow us to approximately, I think it's about 2,500 of these that we would use for distribution throughout the town, the various locations. The county has actually given us a great support in realigning it better, and we've shown copies to the school district and others that have been extremely, happy with
I'll move
the
it.
product.
Second.
Just on the question, I see it's a B fund expense, which I would question. Should be an A fund expense.
That's correct. It's not a big
Yeah,
fund.
should be, yeah.
So,
Good catch on that.
that being said, it's $2,900, it's not gonna break the bank, but if we can just make sure that it's appropriated properly, I'll
I will
support
do
this.
that.
And I just wanna say, whoever did all the work on this, and I'm curious to know who did all, because I went through the whole PDF that you emailed out. This is a significant amount of work to do this.
So it's a combination of Donna Lenart, myself, and, setting up the structure, but particularly Mr. Cavazzini.
Okay.
He did a huge amount of work, taking the ideas, at the initial, as you can see, compiled by Donna, but then Joey took this and then reduced it, and then most recently, and there's a lot of input from different people as we requested information, because part of it is also going into, we were able to use this to go into our new website, which I will mention just briefly in a little bit. But yes, a huge amount of work, and I think it's gotten great reviews outside.
Well, I will say to Joey and to the team that contributed to this, this is a heavy lift to do something like this. And I was very impressed when I went through the PDF, and it takes a lot to impress me, because I'm always looking for something wrong, and I couldn't find something wrong in this. So, great job. Thank you.
And I also want to mention Donna did a great job with this as well, especially considering
that's
she
what
had
she-
all of the, she was out for a while on medical leave, but she still took the time to be able to compile this.
She
so-
put her part together before she went out and rushing to do it, but yeah, it was truly a team effort, which I've been very happy with, and as you saw the prototype, actually Joey, made sure that we went and got it, but, also I will give credit to Sandra for negotiating a very good price, but again, in lines with our shared services approach, I think where it makes sense, so thank you, for your support, but I really especially appreciate, Joey's support.
Sure.
On, a lot of brain work went into it, too.
Okay, well, motion and a
We have a
second.
motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next resolution is Resolution 2019-112. This is resolution amending the town board schedule of meetings. We had some, target dates in there. I've traded email. So tonight it's to decide on what we want to have, or the dates during the summer schedule. But we had I had proposed as one in each month of June, July, and August, but that's no rocket science. It's a matter of schedules. I know Councilwoman Bettina had expressed some concern, being away during the early part of August. So this addresses the August vacation schedule. Any other thoughts on the dates? The dates that I had down there as straw man, was June 24th, July 22nd, and August 12th that we would skip.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm always flexible. I know we
I
do
know.
something like this every year. I would say that, obviously, in the event contingency does occur, we have had extra meetings in the summer if necessary. So we will always obviously leave that option open for the needs of the town, but certainly this is not out of something that we don't generally do anyway.
Councilman Beal, I know you had expressed with me some
Yeah, just
comments.
just looking at, my fear is that we're gonna have some heavy agendas if we cancel the June date. I'm all for the July and August adjustments, but I think that looking at the fact that July happens to have 5 Mondays in it, I would entertain if we could make it somewhat of an adjustment here. Let me just take a look.
The one thought that I had with respect to June, on June 26th, and not canceling it, is the fact that we're going to have this huge Community Day event, and Jessica will summarize it in a little bit, not right now, but we're going to have that huge event, and in case there was some need for additional appropriation or additional work or some legal issues, it may very well make sense, Bill, to have it still on the second meeting in June.
If we could keep the June date, and then I see traditionally we cancel the last meeting in August. I understand that there was a need to cancel August 12th.
Correct.
If there's any thought about having, cancel the last meeting in August and the August 12th meeting, and maybe have a meeting on August 5th instead, so that we have the month of August covered. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Angela, are you
That's
here?
fine with me, yeah.
Okay.
So
that's fine.
what I would propose is keep the June 24th,
Correct.
right?
Yep,
We're going to be meeting on July 8th anyway, right, where we can have the wrap-up from our huge event, right?
Right.
We're going to cancel July 22nd, which is something we've done in the past.
Yep.
All right? We're going to meet on August 5th, right? And then we're going to be canceling August 12th and August 26th.
Okay.
Because traditionally, the last meeting in August is a vacation time also.
Memorial
So
Day.
we're still
I mean, Labor
covering
Day.
the ground here, but we're
Right.
just making adjustments. That's what I would propose.
no, that's fine with me, and that's why I want to raise it for discussion, and especially, too, my concern was with 4th of July, yes, Mr. Roberti.
Just for note, August 5th is also the only planning board meeting in August.
Okay, so, we could go to August 7th. See, now it gets to be a little tricky since we're filming everything.
Right.
We can't bounce anybody anymore. So,
Well, Mike Minor does have a portable camera as well, so.
be a little trickier,
Maybe he could work some magic. But I think, because of Angela's schedule,
I'm not gonna,
yeah,
I'll be out of the country.
on the 7th.
No, on the dates I gave you.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that.
Right, okay.
Well,
So what's the preference of the board?
so
You have the calendar out.
So again, my proposal was originally August 5th. I mean, if we don't want to interfere with the planning board meeting, if we want to go to August 7th and cover the month of August from that first Wednesday of that week.
I'm okay with that if you're going to be out. Angela.
Barbara, you had something?
Well, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, did you say you're out of town on the 7th?
Yeah.
The dates, yeah.
Oh, then, okay, then disregard that. So,
I'm going.
I have a suggestion, if you want August 5th during Angela's vacation, we could switch the planning board to the 12th, just flip them.
Okay,
That would,
Okay.
that would be good. Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That would be good.
Okay,
Thanks.
so, yeah, I didn't,
I'll be out of the country somewhere. I won't be able to even,
all right, so,
August 5th.
do a
5th.
K,
Okay.
WebEx.
We'll have still June 24th, so we're going to be eliminating July 22nd, August 12th, and 26th, and instead holding it on the 5th. Is that correct, Bill? You have keeper of the calendar.
just writing it down here. So we're having the August 24th meeting. We will be meeting
I
on.
mean, the
No,
June
no, no.
24th meeting.
Correction, June
24th.
24th meeting. We're meeting on June 24th. We would be meeting on July 8th, right?
Right.
We're canceling July 22nd,
Correct?
okay? We're meeting on August 5th, right? We're
Correct.
canceling August 12th and August 26th,
Correct.
okay?
God bless you.
Town clerk, you got that, right?
June 24th meeting, July 8th meeting.
Yes.
Canceling July 22nd, canceling August 5th.
No, having August 5th.
No, I'm sorry, August 12th, canceling August 12th, having August 5th, and having August 26th.
No,
We're
canceling
canceling August
26th.
Canceling 26th.
One meeting in August.
So in other words, there'll be 3 meetings that, June
Yeah,
24th,
I'll-
July
I
8th, and
will.
August 5th.
I'll send out a
The other meetings
note.
will be canceled.
So,
Got it.
so what would the meeting after August 26th be?
That'd be the second
It'll
Monday.
be
in September.
September 9th,
August 26th.
September,
September 9th, which
So-
might be Labor Day weekend, correct?
No, Labor Day weekend's
Is it early
earlier.
this year?
It's earlier
Okay,
than that.
oh, good, so it doesn't matter, so that,
so then revise 4 to commencing, regular schedule shall be resumed commencing September 9th.
right,
Okay,
right.
okay.
So to simplify the whole thing, we're meeting on July 24th, correction, June 24th, July 8th, and August 5th. Everything else is canceled. We're resuming the normal schedule on September 9th. All right, and that covers all the bases for the Community Day event.
Correct.
And Councilwoman,
8th, August 5th.
my apologies, I didn't realize that original recommendation
okay.
was going to interfere. So you're good, right?
I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
we got it.
Okay, so we have a revised,
And we'll duly publicize this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll send out a note to everyone, and we'll make sure we're covered.
Exactly. Okay.
So that was amended to reflect those.
So move to amend the town board
Second.
schedule as we just discussed.
Second, thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Okay. You got it all. I'll work with them on it. Councilwoman Bettina reminded me that we have some, two of our residents that would like to say something to the board. So if we would just interrupt the resolutions and have them come up. Please.
Come on.
Good evening.
And thank you for coming out in this
Yes,
weather.
terrible weather.
Is this operational?
Yes,
I
it
believe
is.
so.
Because I speak softly.
No, they're picking it up in the back room.
Okay. I want everybody to hear what I have to
Yes.
say. My name is Cynthia Lidford, and I'm here as a thankful person. I'm trying to acknowledge the kindness I received from other residents, two of whom are here tonight, Kathy Manzi and June Wyant. I also want to acknowledge specifically the employees of the police department, fire department, town board, highway department, and in addition, I don't know how they work here, but I know that the Red Cross was around my area, and I want them noted. The weather was really horrific. It damaged homes, tore down trees at the roots, and basically displayed a tempered tantrum attitude, which was not appreciated by the local residents. I have just finished, not me, but Mr. Casada, who did a lot of work for me. He took down and chipped 13 trees in my backyard, 7 trees on my side area, and about 3 on the other side. Now, the big oak tree that was in front of my house, I have to just add this little information. It came down on top of my brand-new car. Had 1,001 miles on it.
I'm sorry, that's not funny.
But it has all been taken care of, fortunately. I had to comment, I've been wanting to do this because I felt that in all of the hustle and bustle of everything and trying to get the house back in one piece, I really wanted to do something for the departments. So we're going to have 4 different kinds of meetings to try and meet the needs of the fire department, police department, highway department, and so on. So we will be, part of them are scheduled, and we will let you know what the dates are. And if you could attend, it would really give them a pat on the back, because they really did a great job. And I, for one, I really appreciate it, and I know my neighbors did, because they had similar problem to mine. I'm not going to bore you with the rest that I had prepared, because I realize that, you know, it's getting on, and I'll just put them into a package, and I'll provide them, and if you wish to distribute them, fine. If you don't, fine.
We'll attach in the record, and the town clerk will so attach, you know, everything that you have
So
there.
anyway, if you could really attend these little meetings that I'm having for the departments, I think it would give them a big boost, and they certainly deserved it, because they just worked. They were incredible. I'll give you one instance, and then I'll let you have the floor back. Not that I want to give it up, because I have this whole page here. But one example was, it was late in the evening, and people were not walking around the area looking around anymore, because it was getting dark. And a policeman and a fireman came to my door. And they said to me it would be wise to leave and go to a hotel. Well, that's true. It probably would have been wise, but I'm not necessarily wise. But I also had 2 precious cats that I didn't want to leave alone, so that's the main reason. At any rate, they told me that there was no way that an ambulance or a fire department truck could get through the area. However, they made a pathway so that if it was necessary, that the both departments would know where I was and how to get there, and a pathway was made, a stretcher could fit through. I just thought that was so kind and considerate that it just blew me away, as they say. So let me tell you, the residents, the town board, I saw so many of them, Dr. Thurston, and of course, Ms. Pattina, I see her frequently, and several other town board people or supervisors came and, wanted to know what I needed. I had water delivered. I woke up one morning, went outside, and, look, I had 12 gallons of water there, drinkable water. One of my friends, June, she brought me flush water. So, that's important. And I knew I became knowledgeable. It took 3 gallons to make a flush. So every day she would bring gallons up to help
That's
me
a
out.
friend.
That really helped. Anyway, I can't tell you how appreciative I was of my neighbors, my friends, town board, and the members of the public service people. They really were great. And we will be showing them some attention when I get to give you the dates. And we will be feeding them something nice, something sweet, and everything that goes with it. And each department will have their own.
Well, that's
I couldn't
fantastic.
manage to one.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Outstanding.
I mean, it's a privilege to have you in our community and to take the time
Absolutely.
to thank us. And it just shows what a great community
Well,
we have.
I've been wanting to do
So,
this
thank you.
since
I'm
it happened,
sure
but
you
Yes,
I finally
just-
got around to it.
And thank you very much.
My
from the
house
bottom
is
of our
back
hearts.
together
Yes.
now.
Thank you.
thank you.
That is so
You know,
kind.
much more
Very, very
balanced.
kind. Thank you for the kind
Take
words.
care,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We might be
Thank you very
paving your road, too. We just might be paving that road. We might be blacktopping that road down there.
Really?
Absolutely. We'll see what they're gonna do.
And we're going to look at your tree.
Yes.
Stump.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Well,
Thank
This is
you.
great, yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, the next item for resolutions tonight is Resolution 2019-113. This is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds for the Town Hall Shuffleboard Court resurfacing. And this has been a top priority on Steve's list. And many residents, but also our senior center members have been waiting anxiously for Steve to get the surface. It was, there's no surface basically on it right now. It's all just the rough concrete. The original surface had actually worn and created a lot of holes, and so then it was, I understand it, had been removed. And so Steve has gotten estimates, and so this is the one. Steve, if you have any comment on this.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. As you mentioned, the existing surface had deteriorated from weathering and age. What this is a plastic tile system, interlocking tile, similar to what you see in wet locations, but it's specifically made for the shuffleboard court and would lay on top of the concrete pad that we have out there.
Now, are these American dollars or Canadian dollars here?
We converted the Canadian to American, so what is on your,
Proposal, I'm
yeah,
like,
what's on your resolution
it's a
is
Canadian proposal.
is American dollars.
We
I checked his math, it worked out.
Hey, I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passed. Also mention that while he's doing this, he's going to be fixing up the bocce ball court, taking care of the, ruts out there, and generally fixing up, and plans also to put a new roof out on the gazebo. That's out the pavilion, the gazebo where a lot of weddings are actually being held. So, thank you, Steve. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2019-114. This is a resolution authorizing engineers to the town to design water and sewer mains for Old Hopewell Road improvement project. This is related to the project that I mentioned earlier and that we've been discussing for a while, a long time, relating to the Old Hopewell Road road expansion, and in order to coordinate projects, we need to get input into Mr. Balkine and his designers within the next few months. Mr. Gray, would you like to comment on it?
Yes, we'd like to, as I think we've talked about this over the years a lot, and in our PowerPoint presentation 6 weeks ago, we discussed it. The county, as you know, is reconstructing Old Hopewell Road. There are a series of holes in the water district and the sewer districts. Along Old Hopewell Road, we've had many inquiries to hook up. This is our opportunity to get the water mains and the sewer mains installed in coordination with that contract at a reduced cost, because we won't have any pavement costs. The pavement is being done by the county. However, we were advised almost 2 weeks ago that we have 60 days to get the design into the county so it can be coordinated into their design. And they're in their final submissions to DOT. DOT is the agency that is dealing with the design and approving the grants and such that the county is getting. So in order to coordinate this, we need to get that design into the county. We've already asked the county designers to provide to us their AutoCAD versions. Actually, it's a different version of computer drafting, but they provided us with that software, with those files, so we can move right ahead and not have to delay it any further. Having those files reduces our costs because we don't have to do any survey work and get existing conditions on those roads. We have all the topography, we have any interference. If we were starting this job from scratch, we'd have to do all that work ourselves. So there is a savings. So you have our proposal to do the work.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
The next item is actually a follow-on from Councilwoman Bettina's discussion. The board's, consent is that Resolution 2019-115. This is a resolution commemorating the Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Day in the town of Wappinger of, May the 2nd, 2019. Actually, at our last board meeting, we did recognize it, but we did not have a resolution. So now we have a resolution to back up what the board had discussed then. Is there a motion?
I'll second it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstention? Motion passed. I think at this point, Mr. Beal, maybe we bring in the National Police Memorial Day resolution.
So as the husband of a decorated law enforcement officer who previously served this town as a deputy sheriff, and the son-in-law of a retired decorated deputy sheriff who served this town and was one of the founders of the Town of Wappinger Patrol, certainly appreciate the opportunity to pause for a moment to recognize National Police Week, which began yesterday, May 12th, and ends on Saturday, May 18th. This will be the resolution. I will provide a Word document to the town clerk tomorrow. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th occurs as National Police Week in honor of all fallen police officers and peace officers and their families. Whereas the town of Wappinger is fortunate to have such dedicated public servants who protect our communities night and day 24/7. Whereas the residents of the town of Wappinger are protected by law enforcement police officers from agencies including the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, New York State Police, the Village of Wappingers Falls Police Department, and peace officers who serve as court officers within the boundaries of this town. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Wappinger pause deliberations to recognize all police officers and peace officers and honor their fallen comrades and families during this National Police Week. I will move this resolution.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is, well, I guess probably it was, well, you'll come up with the number, right? Mr. Paoloni, thank you. On our agenda, it's Resolution 2019-116. This is a resolution appointing seasonal laborers in Buildings and Ground Department. There's a list of those that are included in the resolution. Mr. Frazier, would you like to comment briefly?
This is reinstating one position that had gotten dropped out during the budget process inadvertently, and just looking to refill that position.
Okay.
Looks like there were 3 here.
I didn't see the resolution.
Yeah.
So this one's appointing Tom Johnston as a seasonal laborer.
That's already been done.
This is the older resolution, somehow I got in there.
Oh, okay, because I see Stefano,
Yeah, no,
Frederico.
he just has the
James
one.
McCoy. Who do you have then? Why don't we just,
Well, I wasn't sure, I don't have the name tonight, because I wasn't advised that the position was being reinstated until last minute.
There's a clerical issue here.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
just confirm that these folks already work. Tom Johnston, Stefano Federico, and James McCarthy.
Right, they were hired several weeks ago.
All right,
so this resolution is in
Is
a,
bad.
yeah.
So I would move to amend this resolution to reflect the following, and I'm going to paraphrase first. We need to authorize $16,380, which I'm seeing here in my spreadsheet already authorized, but there's clearly an issue that needs to be clarified with the accountant, or the controller, excuse me. It should be 7110.109A, should reflect another seasonal position of $16,380. And I would
No,
like...
that was 104.
104, okay, 104 zeroed out, so that's the issue. So 104 needs to be reinstated to 16380. This is going to have no impact. We did an analysis of this. This was we'll say a mathematical error when we finalized the spreadsheet, but we don't want it to be one person short coming into this season, especially with this Community Day that's coming up. So now I'll put it into a motion. I'm moving to amend this resolution, okay, to reflect the authorization of $16,380 into line number 7110.104A for an additional seasonal position to be hired by Steve Frazier.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Motion passed.
And if I may, I did have an applicant that I was interested in. If he's still available, I'd like to hire him and then have a resolution at the next meeting making it
So
official.
I'll move to authorize the Director of Buildings and Grounds to hire the individual that meets the qualifications by his standards and, civil service standards at his earliest convenience.
I'll second that, obviously, with upon the recommendation of the Buildings and Grounds Supervisor.
Just make sure that, after the fact, we get a resolution just so we can codify it
We will.
in the record.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'll have to go through the Dutchess County Department of Human Services and everything else as well,
like
so
the others.
you'll need that resolution.
Okay. We have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes.
Where am I gonna get that resolution from you or Jim?
Jim?
I can just switch the names in the previous one.
Just the most important part of that previous thing is that we make sure that you indicate it's 104A.
Right.
Yes.
104A.
Yeah, I got that then.
Bill, could you just shoot me an email with that line? and
Just
I'll
text
put
me
it in the
tomorrow, I'll give
resolution.
you that.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's where it got messed up. The numbers.
Next resolution, 2019-117. This resolution declaring the highway equipment surplus and authorizing its sale at public auction. You have the list of 4 vehicles, 2 of which are the now out of service police, our town patrol cars that we replaced with new vehicles, and 2 others are with respect to the highway department that have been replaced by new vehicles.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passes. The next item is Resolution 2019-118, resolution authorizing an amendment to the agreement for expenditure pursuant to Highway Law, Section 284. This has the proposal, for streets to be paved. Mr. Patina has, provided us a list of what would be his, wish list. There are 12 roads included on this list from the 1990s. I checked with our controller earlier today, while the amount proposed by Mr. Bettina is, greater than the amount that we have actually set aside. The controller advises that we have in our highway funds for paving for this year, out of the CHIPS and also the bond issue, of $1,190,000. That's what we have.
Is it 90 or 19?
90, I believe.
I have it right.
Or is it 119?
Yeah, it says 119 in the resolution.
Yeah.
Frederick sent me another I'll double check.
Okay.
Okay, I could have gotten that wrong, but I'll check it right
So we have
now.
existing bonds already to pay for this, is that what you're saying?
So last year, the town issued bonding and, I believe it was 1.6 million. And Frederick had sent,
He said there's a 970,000 left over from funds from 2018 bond to do the 2019 paving. In addition, there is CHIPS funds of 220,000.
I have 200.
That's what I got this afternoon from him. So he says the total budget for 2019 paving should not exceed $1,190,000.
and then
Email us
the
afterwards.
CHIPS is actually slightly higher than that.
I have a little bit
It was
more than that
budgeted for
supervisor.
220. We'd have to do a budget amendment because CHIPS came in at 196,515, and Pave New York came in at 44,856.50. So we could do an amendment to that. The information that was provided by the highway superintendent is a list of roads and the cost for the various roads. At this point in time, I would think we would table this resolution until we reach some sort of an agreement, because I believe the total amount was, what was it, 1.8?
Yes, sir.
So,
Actually, to do the roads, we got 8.95. It's $2,355,000 for the whole thing.
yeah, so if you did all, it would be $2,355,000 if you wanted to live within what was currently budgeted.
But we could decide tonight to eliminate some of these streets
Correct.
too, right? Because I don't want to hold up the paving and set it back to
Well,
achieve.
I want to get in there. The blacktop plants basically opened about 2 weeks ago, at least Tilcon. And to be honest with you, I want to get in there for the milling machine and get my place in with Avella, since he's been a low bid and the other towns are using them as well. But again, these are roads recommended. I've got a lot more in the 90s, but I've looked at these. I, of course, defer to you. You decide which roads you want to do, and then I'll see if we can come to an agreement, and we'll move forward.
I mean, the other option is you could, select 4 or 5 roads tonight to get started.
Right.
And then do a second amendment to add, utilize the balance of the funding.
Thank you.
I would say select 4 of the oldest roads right now, right,
Correct.
to get rolling.
Yep. So we have some from, as I said, there's about 12 from the 1990s. I'm seeing here, the oldest is 1992 Hilltop Drive. There's 1993 Old Ketchumtown Road. There are 2 of those. And then we have also 1997 Gold Road. And then 1997 Van Voorhees Terrace. Those seem to be the 4 oldest, looking at the list quickly.
Well, Woodland Court,
Oh, there's a Russell Road, 1993.
Woodland Court's getting paid for with CHIPS money, correct?
Yeah, Woodland Road was originally scheduled to be paved last year.
Right.
correct.
And then it was bumped because, I forgot, it was swapped for another road.
Right.
There's a road that had the water problem. We had the break on
Right.
it. It was, I think, was it Valley, or was it?
Valley, I think it was, yeah.
And it was, in Valley, it was just a hair a
Curry
little bigger,
Road.
and we swapped off on that. That's right.
Yeah.
Curry Road as well. That's a shorter one.
That's a small one.
Small one, yes. So, then you have in Ward 1, Old Troy, maybe we
So pick
select
the
one
oldest.
in each
Yeah,
ward.
select one road in each ward to
One
get
in
things
each ward.
started. Does that sound fair? So I would say for Ward 1, Woodland Court,
Okay.
Or 2,
I would recommend, okay, Bill, so we'll do Woodland Court. Actually, We were trying to do that last year, like I said, it got swapped out, so Woodland Court.
For Ward
Okay.
1.
All right, and Ward 2, I would say that Old Ketchumtown's, it's such a small road, it's only 15, but if you take Caroline Drive and you add those three, those are ones. Van Boris is a very small road, it's only
Yeah.
.13, so I would say if you're to do
Well, if you're
Caroline.
gonna be in Caroline, you might as well do
Yeah.
east and west,
Right.
right?
I think
all
we do
three.
the 3 in Caroline.
Three in Caroline,
Yeah,
especially
but I'd
with
like to
all
do
the
the
There's
three in
so-
Caroline.
yeah, if you
and just-
do-
And because I'm by Bill, because I'm next to Woodland, I'd like to jump over and do Ketchum, because I'm like, for .15, I'm like across the street.
All right,
Using the machine.
so is it fair to say that in Ward 1, Woodland Court, and, well, actually, Old Ketchumtown is in Ward 2,
Right.
Across the street.
which I don't have an objection to that. Then the Carolines, there's 3 of them.
Right,
That's it.
Right, they're very short.
Do those in Ward 2.
right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Then over to Ward 3.
Okay, now we're over in Ward 3.
Balfour, there's a longer
Me-
one.
Nina?
You got Mina Road's a little, that's
Mina's
Mina
rough.
Drive.
It's an older one, the oldest there.
Yeah.
What do you say, Chris?
Yeah, Mina's, it's a rough road as well.
Mina?
Mina, there you go.
Okay. And then Ward 4.
Well, Hilltop and Gold would be my first two, based upon the age and the condition.
Hilltop, definitely, I mean, we got some drainage on Hilltop, well. Hold on here.
You also have Russell Road, too.
Wow, Hilltop, I have to tell you, I got some drainage repair and that's gotta get it cut across. I would definitely say we have to do Hilltop.
Okay.
I might have to, well, I might have to utilize some other funding I have to do Hilltop to stay within the constraints. There's a drainage issue there. And what was the other one,
Gold.
Councilman?
Gold, you saying?
Yeah, that's from 97, that's,
The money,
Yeah, but you have Russell Road for 93.
yeah.
you gotta look at that, that's a big hit there. It's
Gold might put us over the top on the
Yeah,
initial
that's
funding.
1.2 miles. So,
Whereas
Mike, Russell?
You could do Hilltop and Russell, and we
I
could
would
put Gold
recommend
in
if
as a
you're gonna do-
possibility,
if-
depending upon what's left.
I would say Daniel Sabia is a small road, it's only .19, that's a rough shape.
Okay.
Which one is that?
Yeah,
Daniel.
we don't even know when that was last done.
What's that?
We don't even know when that was last done,
No,
unfortunately.
we couldn't find the records on, it. I mean,
No.
That's
I mean,
pretty bad.
research these, and, trying to find this and put this together was a real puzzle.
Oh,
I
maybe
think that would be good.
Daniel Sabia, Russell, and Hilltop.
Okay.
Mike, just if we could, on the Fourth Ward, Daniel Sabia,
Russell and Hilltop, those are the oldest ones.
You got that, Russell and Hilltop?
Yeah, Gold.
Gold is a longer one, 1.22 right now. No. What? Leave it to Mike to say.
Well, obviously, if we don't have the funding for it, that would be my next choice if we had the money, but if we
Where's
don't have
that,
the money,
Mike?
we don't have the money. Gold.
Well, I think right now the purpose is to
Yeah,
just get things
get 'em
started.
started.
So we
Yeah,
can figure
we're
out
not going to
finance.
say no
Yeah.
for others, we're just get it started.
This
Yeah,
is
but
just to
to
get
start,
things
yeah, to
going,
start, why don't we just start with those three?
Arlie, so we can put those on the
Yeah.
280, on the agreement, please?
Right.
Put that on the agreement and
start
draw
with-
down what
Yeah.
money it is, so we can start that.
So again, to repeat, we have Woodland Court, in Ward 2, it's Old Ketchumtown and the 3 Carolines, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, there is Caroline Drive, east and west, but it's kind of circular.
Same circle.
There's 3 roads.
There's 3
Roads.
officially, 3
They're
roads.
all tied
Yeah,
together.
Caroline Drive East, and Caroline Drive West. And then we have in Ward 3, Mina Drive,
Yeah.
correct? Hilltop in Ward 4, and then Daniel Sabia and Russell.
Right.
Yes.
Got it? Got it. So we'll amend the agreement, we'll cover those, and then we'll come back after looking at the numbers and discuss further roads. That make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's toll that out, look at the amount of money on that, make sure, okay?
Yeah, so this is just to get things rolling.
Right.
That's correct.
And then
That's right.
they'll have to crunch those numbers, Vinnie. You guys will have to crunch those numbers before the next meeting and figure out where we're at.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to.
Wait a minute, let me, just so we understand this. we can move forward with these roads that you chose, correct?
Correct.
We're gonna put those
That's
on the
what we're
Put those
gonna-
on the 284
We're gonna put them on the
agreement tonight,
284, yeah.
correct?
That's right, 284 tonight.
Correct, and then, at that point, we'll be coming back for these other roads, and you'll be, and by the way, I'd like you to deliberate
If
and
there's
look these
any-
other roads for us, because, to move forward.
Right, I think the purpose here is to get the 284 filled out for the initial work, right? We
Right.
gotta figure out the financing to see how much money we have left
know.
after these
Correct.
roads, and then we can deliberate which additional roads.
That's correct.
I'd like to be able to do this, if at all possible, Bill, in the next 30 days, be able to come back.
Well, at the next
The
meeting.
next
you know.
meeting, at the end of May, we'll discuss the other
You want
roads.
to come back for these other, you guys want to look at these other roads? I mean,
Yeah,
Yes.
and make a decision.
because we are okay
Well,
to
the
go with
first
these
thing-
roads, correct?
right.
The ones we just said, we'll have the resolution,
I'm going to call the contractor and tell him,
Right.
schedule me in.
we'll
All
get,
right, so let me move this resolution to reflect the roads we just discussed to be applied to the 284 agreement.
Bill, if you would, please, as you read them out, if you would read the amounts on them, so we can get an aggregate total on that, would be helpful.
Well, we'll just add them.
we'll add them up.
Mileage,
you know.
mileage, the mileage,
Okay,
I'm
we'll-
sorry.
we'll-
We'll just do the mileage, okay.
Okay.
Well, I have about 750,594 based upon the roads we picked from your estimate,
Okay.
so.
We're
So
okay.
we're under based upon what we currently have.
Thanks, Mike.
Good.
Thank you.
Right, that was the idea, and then we'll find out what the available
Yeah.
funding is, what the options are.
You want to put the mileage with that, please? I mean, the
Okay.
approximate mileage?
Okay.
So, Bill, you
So
wanted
just-
to have the resolution. Go
So
ahead.
moving resolution number 118, we're going to add the following roads to the 284 agreement. Woodland Court, .43 miles. Old Ketchumtown Road, .15 miles. Caroline Drive, .07 miles. Caroline Drive East, .24 miles. Caroline Drive West, .25 miles. Mina Drive, .54 miles. Hilltop Drive, .49 miles. Daniel Sabia Drive, .19 miles. And Russell Road, .22 miles.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. So, Mr. Bettina, then you'll work on the further numbers, and we'll work with
All right, so.
council and
if-
Frederick on.
And Supervisor, if you would, if the board members would look at their second choice of those roads
Sure.
given to them and have those, could I get those in an email to me, please,
Sure.
for the next meeting, if at all possible?
Yeah, we'll work this out.
We'll work on it, yeah.
Either
Okay.
way, we're going to discuss it the next meeting.
Correct. That's
So
right.
we're approximately about 3.4, 3.5 miles with that.
Okay,
Okay,
that's a good
Thank
start.
you.
okay. Very good.
Thank
Get you
you.
going, get the asphalt. And since we approved the rental of the equipment, we can get that all moving, okay?
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you, Mr. Bettina, for the hard work putting together the list. At least we're chipping away against the old ones. The Resolution 2019-119, resolution authorizing the engineers to the town to proceed to steps 4 and 5 of Phase 2A Chelsea Hamlet connections. This is as a result that we still have some money remaining, actually $419,000, as I recall, from the New York City DEP grant. And I think Mr. Gray had first recommended Skytop as, at least the first choice, but why don't you speak on this?
All right, well, as you know, we had almost $1.3 million left over from the arrangement with DEP. DEP has allowed us to only use that money to make connections to the water main from the houses to the curb valves that we put in. We looked at many other options to use that money for extensions of water main into other areas. So we solicited, that money was not enough in our estimation to fund all of the properties who were eligible to be hooked up, which was in the neighborhood of, there are 150 homes in that area that are eligible, 10 of which were funded and were connected by DEP. They were immediately around the shaft site. That brings us down to 140. There were approximately 25 homes in the Chelsea area that hooked up on their own. So that brought us down to roughly 115 homes that are eligible. The 1.3 million was not enough in our estimation to pay for all of those homes to be hooked up. So we solicited in steps. The initial steps were in the hamlet of Chelsea and Circle Drive and part of Skytop. Based on those solicitations and the number of people that have responded that they were interested, we still have, as Dick said, roughly $400,000 left. I would like to proceed with soliciting the remainder of Skytop up to the end. There's about a dozen homes there. And see where that puts us with the money. Because I suspect as we start to do work in Chelsea, we're gonna get people that are gonna be raising their hands saying, listen, I want water. And I wanna have a reserve left over to meet that need. Initially, I thought, we've solicited them 3 times, 1 by letter, 2 by door hangers. Ms. Bettina and myself went around and visited a number of homes and engaged people in conversation. But I still think there may very well be property owners that will want this hookup. So you can authorize me to do steps 4, which is the remainder of Skytop, and 5, which is Stenger Court. But I personally think we should hold off on Stenger Court until we know where we are with money.
Okay.
The goal here is to use as much of that 1.3 million as we can, because there's a sunset on this money. Once the end of October comes, whatever is not used won't be available anymore. We'll, in essence, be giving it back to DEP. So I really want to come right up to that number without going over it.
What's the total that we have definite right now?
Right now, we have 1.25 million, something like that.
How many homes?
Right now, we have 32. We received our bid. We're ready to award the contract to Gleason.
Right.
There are 32 homes to hook up.
Out of the total of 150, though?
A total of 115.
Well-
Are still eligible, yeah. So I expect, it was surprising. There's a number of homes, probably a majority of homes, that are not interested in getting this done. I was really surprised.
So they're not interested in receiving town water, is that?
Correct.
They don't want to hook up.
They don't want to hook up. for
They
a
like
variety
the
of
well
reasons.
water, they don't want to incur an expense, even as we've discussed with them.
Yeah, sometimes they actually already put a lot of money into filtration of their own system.
Yes,
You know, we've had that issue on All Angels.
Yes,
yes.
so
And that's,
in any event,
seems
I want
to
to move
be,
ahead with, it's getting to be a long meeting tonight. I want to extend to Skytop, see where we are with the money, and if we have more money left over, we'll work on get Stenger out there.
Yeah, I'll move the resolution then.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Thanks, Bob.
Aye. Any nays, abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Bob.
Bob, if you want to walk around again, I'm willing
I'm going to walk around tonight and talk to Jane Wang.
but I'm willing to go to the residents
And-
again.
And Bob has put a lot of time and effort in trying to get the people on board, and, you know, Angela has gone out there as well as I have, you know, and it's pulling teeth out of the horse, you know, in some ways.
It's a golden opportunity.
is a great opportunity.
It really is. I have people in other parts of Chelsea that would give a lot to be able to
Even
do
if
this.
they're not, this is at no cost.
Right,
Right.
Granted, they're going to get a water bill, but they're already paying the benefit assessment to be in the water district.
exactly.
The water bill is going to run $250 a year, or something like that. I think that's about the average for the minimum water bill,
A year,
a year.
yeah.
It adds to the value of a house to be hooked up to the water. So I just, to be honest with you, I don't get it, but people are entitled to their opinion. I want to spend as much of that money as we can.
Exactly, thank
I
you.
don't want to be the guy to give back $1.2
No,
million.
we don't like to give back.
And wherever this water goes, fire hydrants are, correct?
There already are fire
There,
hydrants.
there.
They're already there.
And they're banded.
What's that?
They're banded. They have the flow ratings on them.
Right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2019-120 in the matter of the increase and improvement of the facilities of the United Wappinger Water District in the town of Wappinger, Dutchess County, New York. And this is the issue dealing with the, water treatment facility, the Hilltop and Meadowwood, after we had the, public hearing this evening. And this is, though, a much steeper, price tag when you look at the total amount of the estimated cost of $1.5 million approximately. Bob, would you like to comment on it?
Only that this is on that short letter I gave you tonight.
Right.
Gives you both the Hilltop and the Meadowwood improvements, summarizing of that, and the cost of that, total cost to improve both those well fields is $1.5 million. And this, again, this isn't to create any additional capacity in the system. Other than Meadowwood, we have never used the Meadowwood wells. This will enable us to use them. But it will definitely create what I like to call a more robust system where we can cycle. Right now, we depend almost totally on Atlas. We'll be able to give those wells a rest, use Hilltop to a greater extent, and use the Meadowwood well fields and kind of cycle where the water's coming from.
Bob, we've been having some preliminary discussions with the county with respect to water. As, since this is a larger amount and we don't, we haven't had a chance to really analyze the funding of that, is this something that we might want to delay somewhat as we discuss with the county? Because we had discussed possibilities of grants and others. I'm just asking the question. Okay.
This has been long in the making, especially Meadowwood. We had the Hilltop, the Toll Brothers Development funded the water main to connect Meadowwood to the United Wappinger Water District. When we were ready to turn it on, the county health department, or the state health department actually, changed the requirements for that filter system, which was in place at Meadowwood. So this is to replace, this funding is to replace those filters so we can actually use that water, which is there. And the Hilltop well field, those wells, 2 of them need to be totally replaced. I would really rather see us move ahead with this. If something should happen to Atlas for some reason, I'd really want to have this backup.
And for purposes of funding, part of the buy-in fees that were paid by New York City DEP as part of that expansion were intended to be used for the filter
For the Meadowwood.
upgrades at Meadowwood. So,
It's hard to think about right now, but, we've had drought conditions before. Our well fields the Hilltop well field and Meadowwood are pretty close to the Sprout Creek and would be subject to less water. Atlas, right along the Wappinger Creek, if something were to happen to the creek there, or, a lower level or some other issue, it'd be nice to have these other 2 well fields fully operational. Again, with this recent weather in the past 2 years, it's
Hard to
think
believe.
about a drought, but it can happen.
But it's nice to be proactive.
There's a couple other, factors based on my discussion with the county that actually I think is appropriate for executive session. That does impact this, so maybe what we do is table this until after executive session. I'd like to fill you in on a couple of items.
Sure.
Table.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? That motion passes. The next resolution was going to be with respect to the fence around the Carnwath Gardens. Actually, we have a lot of interest, particularly Sparrow's Nest, that is interested in renting out. But I just noticed we only just, actually a short while ago, got the proposal. I have not had a chance to read it and study it or even discuss, the amount, so I would like to table this
I'll
motion.
move the table.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? That motion passes. I would like to, I'll call Jessica, I wanted to move the resolutions along, and then please move your discussion along quickly, because we're waiting for some interviews, but to report on Memorial Day and give an update with respect to what we've accomplished this past week. Yeah, okay, I just wanted, to get Jessica up and then out.
So Memorial Day, it's Monday, May 27th at 2 p.m. at Schlott House Park, as always. And this year, Mark Molinaro, the county executive, is our guest speaker.
One of them.
One of them. Well, the next portion is our Recreation Committee Chairman, who has been emceeing this event for a very long time, is of variable health at this moment. So as our Plan B, what we would like to do is have the town board members that are going to be in attendance in turn introduce certain portions of the program. There's several different sections to it. The program is 99% finalized. We are currently in need of a reverend, but we have one in the wings.
Right.
So once that's finalized, what I plan to do is send out to the town board the individualized sections so that we can go over what those sections entail to help you be able to introduce the different portions. And the town supervisor is always on the agenda as opening and closing remarks.
But I thought it would be good to have, some common participation to everybody and divide up the
Yeah.
approach for that.
Yes. And Ralph, if unable to MC, does still have a special role that we're going to be giving him
As you know,
during the event.
Ralph took a spill again,
Yeah.
and he's recovering, but it's
Exactly.
been tough on him.
Exactly. So, but being on his feet for a long
Yeah, I
stretch of
think will be
time, we're
tough.
not sure. Okay. So our very good Community Day news is, since we last met, we got our final approval from the Village of Wappingers Falls for our parade route, and we also
Which
had.
is South Mizzier.
Yes, which is South Mizzier, down to Maple and then across to the junior high. The mayor in the village seems very excited about it. He's assured us that the construction going on there won't impact us. And then the second was the town supervisor and I sat down with the deputy superintendent and the supervisor of their buildings and grounds and the assistant principal, and went over what our layout is at Wappingers Junior High, and including doing the fireworks up the hill at James S. Evans. They're on board with everything.
Very excited.
They
They're
are.
very excited, and they see this as a partnership.
Yes.
As we, Bill, I think, had discussed and hoped, and
Yes.
really, truly, fully on
Yeah.
board.
And we've got a couple of different ways that we have also integrated the school district. We're going to open and close each day with the national anthem sung by one of the district students. So they're going to be helping us out in that way as well.
And we have, and we could save it for later since we're running, but
Yes.
citizenship boards plan, of course, we have a number of
Yes.
speakers, such as county exec, the sheriff is
Mm-hmm.
all excited, about coming out as are others. So I think Senator Serino is going to, actually, looks like going to be a big,
Yeah, good.
very big event.
It's rolling along. The applications are starting to come in
Yeah.
very quickly.
And
now,
the
so.
ride company has confirmed.
The ride company has
And-
confirmed and are coming for a site visit, so we're very good there. All the major players are ready to go.
And Bill, I think
So-
now we're very much ready for the police and fire services to get that online.
We'll get a meeting together
Yeah.
the week of May 20th we were talking about. We just have to make sure it's not going to be a conflict with anything else going on. But, as I've said in the past, this is an opportunity for us to take this event to the next level. I've tried not to be too over-the-top optimistic until everything falls into place here, but it sounds like everything is falling into place. The foundational aspects of it are coming together. Now it's time to hit it out of the park. So, this is going to be the first time a municipality has had fireworks on 4th of July weekend in southern Dutchess County in this area in a long time. And speaking to Scott Davis the other night, who's the deputy mayor of the village of Wappingers Falls, they're very excited to be partnered with us as well.
Absolutely.
Terry, the principal across the street here, is very excited about this. Which deputy superintendent are you dealing with?
Mike,
Dwight Bonk.
Dwight.
Dr. Bonk? Yeah, so
Yes.
you have all the right players in the room here. So I'm looking forward to this being incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, and what, you have, what, 9 bands, brass bands and marching bands? Yeah.
Which is like our very big accomplishment for this year, because we've always been trying to get more, and we've got a couple of big ones, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then the final resolution, I wanted to get Jessica off, and while we had some audience watching, to get that there. Resolution 2019-122, this is the approval of the correspondence law.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? That motion passes. And so, right now, I have a motion to go into executive session.
I do want to say one thing that I forgot.
Sure.
Councilman Beal, in your ward, Old Troy Road comes into New Hamburg. We have a sign, a welcoming sign.
Yes.
Quite a few people have come to me and said that it's causing a visual problem. So if somebody can look at that, maybe move that, because I've gotten a lot of calls about it.
I have seen that. We'll talk about that offline. Sometimes when...
Just move it somewhere. 'cause they
Sometimes
said-
inadvertently, based on the angles,
Right.
line of sight, these things can happen. There's also an obstruction with the Old Troy Road sign itself. You can't see the Old Troy Road sign when you're coming from New Hamburg. We'll talk about it. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, because they were really concerned. I had the husband,
Okay.
then I had the wife, and then others. And I said, well, I would talk to you.
Thank you.
To have that.
Okay, so a motion to go in executive session. We have some interviews, a discussion on legal aspect of employee hearing, and also a legal issue with respect to the Houstonville
I'll move
Fire
it.
District. Okay,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we will move into executive session.